Right, let's go on to actual attacks. This is the most dangerous aspect of defending against a knife. The thing you've got here is a lack of choice, unfortunately. If you fall off a ship into the Atlantic Ocean and the ship doesn't know about it, you've got one choice: try and keep afloat. Okay? Now the same happens when somebody has already started attacking you with the blade. Then you haven't got a choice. You either take it and maybe die, or you combat it and probably survive. We're not giving you guarantees. What we're giving you is the extras, the chances, and that's much better. People buy smoke alarms and they have fire doors fitted to give them that extra to get out of a burning building. They don't stay in and fight the fire, they try and escape it. But when it's actually there, you haven't got a lot of choice. Okay? Now let's reiterate what we said at the beginning. Usually, if the blade's low, it's a stabbing kind of movement because it equates to a punch. If now you think of slapping and backhand slapping, you've then got the cutting postures. And cuts, this is not black and white again, this is generally. Cuts tend to be higher and stabs tend to be lower, simply because of the elbow position of the attacker. What he can't do from here is cut. It's just a ludicrous action. That's a natural action. To raise out and come back in. It's also natural to come back again. And people with slashing attacks tend to do more than one thing. Get rid of this idea that you'll see in a lot of these old martial arts systems, magazines, etc., of one attack. One attack doesn't always happen, it's usually extra. How many people do you read about in the paper who died of one stab wound? It's been stabbed 7 times, 21 times. So obviously it's a cumulative attack. It's an ongoing attack. So let's just understand the body postures. If a guy comes in fairly low, there's a chance that he's stabbing. If he comes with his hand up, he's not going to try and stab you from here because that's an awkward posture. So what to do with those two main ones? But what we've got to understand is that you may have to take something. So if Andy's got the blade and he's doing the slash and I actually cover here and he cuts across there, that's okay, I'll live. If he cuts across here, I might not. So I've got to take one on the forearm, one on the shoulder perhaps, one on the back or even the top of the head, somewhere that can be mended but isn't life-threatening. Because we're looking at damage limitation, not damage eradication. We're trying to get away from here with as little amount of damage that's going to happen to us, not nil. You may be lucky and survive every knife attack using your defensive perfectly and never get cut. But I can assure you, you do get cut. And I've got quite a few scars on my hands from real scenarios where the cuts are there. So that's what we're going to understand. So let's just take this nice and slow. We'll bring Carl in. And the first thing we're going to understand is somebody attempting to stab. What Carl's got to do is keep the body nice and low, keep the elbow in the way of the stomach so that gets stabbed, and control Andy's elbow. Okay, let's do this nice and slowly. As he steps in to stab him, Andy's, look, he's here, look, everything's covered. There's very little that Andy can stab, but the blade's still there. So what Carl needs to do now is accumulate his own attacks back on Andy. He's got to start building up the impacts 3 or 4 times, Carl, just something with him, keep it going, keep the control. Because the guy is intended killing you, the law doesn't say minimal force, what the law says is reasonable force. And to me it's very reasonable. If a guy wants to put a 9-inch blade into my stomach, it's reasonable if I hit him 3 times. If all he's doing is pointing with a finger, it's not reasonable to hit him at all. Okay? So, continued impact back on there again, covering the major organs. You've got to understand if a guy's right-handed, most of the damage is going to be on the left-hand side, his right, of the person that's taking it, of the victim. He's not going to stab him from this hand round here. So what you're giving is this kind of cover, trying to keep the cover nice and low so you're covering your major organs, you're covering your face. You can get cut on your head, you can get stabbed in the forearm, it's much better than being stabbed in the neck. So let's see that one again. He comes in, there's a control, he's covered. But instantly what Carl's going to do is start producing a cumulative impact. And continue the impact. Okay? Right, let's just speed that up a little bit. Probably just twice as fast. And you're on time, guys. You see what's happening? Carl's maintaining that control. Now, the brain of the person who's the attacker will want to use the knife. That's his safety weapon. I've seen real situations where people have been thrown on the floor from knife attacks and they still hold of the knife. They want to keep hold of it. So he's not going to think about punching back. He's going to think about trying to use that. And that's an advantage Carl has. Let's just swap this over and do that a little bit faster from this side. In your own time, guys.